Hi again, everybody. Stewart Gandolf here. Today, I'm pleased to introduce my friend, Dr. Mark Tager. Welcome.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Great. So I've known Mark a long time, and Mark is a very, very smart doctor and entrepreneur. He's a speaker. He's a writer. He's got a terrific resume. Currently, he is the CEO of ChangeWell, Inc., and the website is changewell.com. And today, we're going to be talking about his new book, Total Engagement, The Healthcare Practitioner's Guide to Heal Yourself, Your Patients, and Your Practice. So Mark, I guess the first question is, tell our audience, what is the book about exactly? Help us understand what kinds of issues you're addressing in the book.
Today, one of the problems we really face is we have very many grumpy, unhappy, stressed out physicians. And the data backs this up. There was the AMA study with Mayo that was done in 2012 that showed that 45% of the physicians have at least one of the symptoms of burnout. We know that in medical school, classically, empathy drops, cynicism rises. Another study showed that 9.4% of third-year medical students and residents have considered suicide. So how do we heal the healer? How do we help physicians rekindle the spirit and the joys of medicine? You come into medicine, you want to make a difference. You want to help people, and something in the system beats it out of you. So our goal in this book that I co-authored with a noted integrative cardiologist, Dr. Mimi Guarneri, is all designed around, first, let's heal yourself. Let's look at getting you happy and rekindling your spirit. Let's look at healing your patients. What are the tools and skills you really need? And then finally, how do you make the kind of changes in the structure of your practice that can allow you to be happy, fulfilled, and it's doable. It's a very doable thing, Stuart.
It's excellent. I took a look at the book, and I've read through some of it as much as I can so far, and I want to read the whole thing because we see these issues all the time. We work with hospitals, we work with doctors, we work with staff, a pretty broad mix, and our subscriber base is pretty vast. But the thing that I find over and over again is most of the people that call us have something they're trying to do differently with their practice. It's sometimes financially motivated, sometimes it's not. Sure. Sometimes they're just interested in doing a different kind of work. So give us a sense of maybe some of the prototypes of the kinds of doctors you might see.
Well, we lay out a matrix here in which people can make personal change or organizational change. They can make small changes, incremental changes, or large ones. So an incremental personal change is learning mindfulness techniques. So before you go into the patient's room, you stop, you pause, you breathe, you attend, you feel free to break away from that screen and really listen. So that now we interrupt patients in their narrative. Someplace between 18 and 23 seconds in, we've already interrupted them in their narrative. So that's a small personal change. Organizationally, there are physicians who just need to make another $20,000, $30,000 to put a kid through school. And there are ways you can augment your practice with aesthetics, with nutraceuticals, with testing, with advanced cardiovascular biomarker work, with exercise testing, with sleep work. So there's a way you can augment your practice. But the real gist of things is transformation, I believe, so that you become the change that you want to see. And that is really the path of integrative medicine, which has three components to it. There is a lifestyle management component, there is a functional medicine component, and there is a holistic health component. These are three paradigms, and what we see is that the physician who really wants to transform him or herself and transform his or her practice can dip into these three buckets and create the kind of offering that they feel good about and that their patients want. But there's two things that are missing.
Okay.
The first one is courage. Physicians are afraid to take that leap, and yet they're powerful, they're smart, they're the hardest working people in the planet. It's snowing and that physician's there at 5 a.m, and they've got all these wonderful attributes, and yet there's this little leap they need to take to have courage. And then the second thing really is confidence. Now, you don't need to learn everything. You need to learn enough about one of these disciplines, the lifestyle discipline, the functional discipline, the holistic discipline, or organize your practice to have other people help and assist and guide you in that. And that's how you can make that leap. So there are models. I interviewed over 100 physicians for this book. And there are wonderful models of physicians who've taken that leap and are finding great joy and meaning. They're seeing 6 to 10 to 12 patients a day and not 30 patients a day. They are doing more fee-for-service, private pay as well. And patients are being healed. They're being healed. And everyone wins in that scenario.
And I love this because I've, as Mark and I discussed before the taping, I've spoken at conferences where they have maybe 400 doctors in the room, and they're very interested in this kind of idea, particularly on the primary care side, where they're looking for ways of increasing revenue, making their life more fulfilling. And the big question is how? I mean, there's where do I choose from? Is it integrative health? Is it weight loss? Is it aesthetics? How do you do these things? And I think it's terrific that you're focusing on this, because that's really the issue of where do I even begin? It's a pretty overwhelming task, isn't it, for most doctors?
It begins with the vision. What is it you want to accomplish? Who do you want to be? What kind of patients do you want to attract? What paradigms do you have? What tools and techniques do you have today, and what do you need to acquire? And then you put that all together working backwards from that vision. Now, what's interesting to me, and I know you've done such great work on the healthcare side with organizations throughout the country, and you're certainly noted as one of the real experts in the field. And, we talk so much on the organizational side about physician engagement. And my concern there is that it's sort of like, we just acquired these practices, we're going to bring them in, and we're all going to march along the same path and have these same protocols and same ways of doing things, when really what we don't look at is physician engagement from the physician's perspective. What's going to provide more meaning, value? What tools do they need? How can we craft out an aspect of their practice where they can dig in and have that joy and that sense of wonder that they had. So I'd like to think that it's a top down and bottoms up, so that these organizations today can get the best from physicians. Now that also means that organization needs to have the leadership, the management that is affirming, that's not toxic. We've got this traditional sort of conflict always between the administration and the physicians, and yet we have to have our values in sync, and then the leadership has to be affirming and proactive. Years ago I did a book with Marjorie Blanchard, whose husband Ken's a 1-minute manager. We looked at the cases of bad bosses. And we realized that...
Not me personally.
No, you're a good boss. And I'm here in his office, and these people around here are very happy. But, it seemed that physicians needed 5 things. They needed participation in the decisions that affect them. They needed an environment that gives them opportunities and chances to perform, recognition for progress, knowing the importance of their work and how they contribute, make a difference every day. And finally, the right leadership style. So within organizations, I think good physicians can stay within these organizations if there's organizational flexibility. But as we've also seen, sometimes for their own well-being, they need to make the leap. They need to get out of what they're doing and do something differently.
Well, I think the anecdote, we talked today, actually saw my own primary care doctor this morning, and we were talking about it because he was asking me, hey, Stewart, who do you know that can help me decide, as I'm expanding my office, do I want a PA? Do I want a nurse practitioner? Do I want an MD? If I do have an MD, what's the structure of that? And so it's not really our core competence of, staffing. That's not what we do, and in terms of the economics of it. And I had talked to Mark about this because I'm looking for people to refer my friend and my primary care doctor to. And what I really liked was the idea that you started off, well, what's his values? What does he care about? And that's such a great thing. Rather than just going straight to the economics of what makes the most economic sense, first, take a step back and look at what is he trying to create. I think that's great.
I think here, this is so typical of the way in which we try to solve problems. We rush immediately to the tactics. And physicians just don't take the time to step back and do the kinds of activities and exercises where they get off the treadmill of their practice and they think, who am I? What do I really want to do? They have to rekindle the sense of joy in their practice. What kind of patients do I want to want to treat. And one of the nice things is that I'm doing a retreat with my colleague Mimi Guarneri, who's a magnificent integrative medicine cardiologist, and she's just superb. We're basically going to take some small groups of physicians and in a spirit of, in a kindred spirit, sort of help them go through that process, because you've got to start from within. And you've got to get clear on that. Then the question is, it's not whether it's a PA or an NP or a nutritionist or a wellness coach. It's, I've got this vision of who I want to be. I have this vision of the practice I want. I have the vision of the patients I want. Now I'm going to put together the offering and let people, as you do so well, let people know about it, because there's no better person to let people know about it.
Thank you. Again, Mark's been a friend of ours for a long time, and I just thought this would be a terrific book. That book, again, is Total Engagement, The Healthcare Practitioner's Guide to Heal Yourself, Your Patients, and Your Practice. I think it's very timely. The thing Mark brought up a couple of times is joy. How can the individual doctor bring joy back to their practice and their life? And there's many different models, and this gets into areas that really isn't what we do. Our job is to attract patients, but to set up the right life and the right structure of the business. We can certainly help on the marketing side of that, but starting a step back of what I want to create, and it's really helpful. So I hope lots of our subscribers go to
Changewell.com.
Changewell.com.
Yeah.
Okay, that book again is Total Engagement, The Healthcare Practitioner's Guide to Heal Yourself, Your Patients, and Your Practice. That's available at Changewell.com. Mark, thank you.
Stuart, always a pleasure.
It's so much fun having you.
Thanks so much.
And thanks for watching.